American football in Finland.
The voice in your ears is Perfect Pervis, and this is American Football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Coach Q. What's going on, Q?
What's up, Per? We back, baby. We back.
Hey, man, we got a good one today. The AFF
Hmm
podcast is available on all major platforms, including YouTube. Wherever you listen, be sure to follow, like, subscribe, and rate us. Anything less than 5 stars tells us that you are a hater. Don't be a hater. Okay, so we're 2 weeks away from playoffs now. We just finished week 12. So let's look at the playoff picture again for a couple of minutes before we get into the week. First place, Crocs at 9-1. Second place, Butchers at 8-3. Third place, the Roosters at 5-5. Fourth place, the Steelers at 5-5. Fifth place, the Royals at 5-6. Sixth place, UNC at 4-7. And in seventh place, the Wolverines, who are 0-10. Now, we're pretty much still talking about the same teams for the last 2 weeks, and I tell you the truth, I'm ready for the playoffs now. Like, I don't think they really need to be any more games. The way it's set up right now, I think that's how we should just jump into the playoffs today. What do you think? I think we're in a good spot with the order
Yeah,
right now.
I think we're in a good spot because well, I don't know. I'm not gonna say that. I'd rather see the Royals in the playoffs than the Butchers. Not the
And the
Butchers. I'm
Steelers.
sorry, the Steelers right now though. So
The crazy part is I agree with you. I would rather see the Royals than the Steelers, but they had their chance.
yeah, that's
They
true.
had their shot. If they could have beat the Roosters once, even,
Yeah,
now that the Roosters and Steelers, basically Roosters, Steelers, and Royals all have 5 wins. It's a point system, so it doesn't matter if the Royals are 5-6. They all have 5 wins, and the Royals are last, which means if they all finish with 6 wins, the Royals are
Royals. Yeah,
last, and they'll be
yeah,
out. And between what's left in the season, the Roosters have Crocs and Wolverines. They're gonna win 6 games. They're gonna probably beat the Wolverines for sure.
yeah,
So they're gonna lock it in. And then the Steelers have Wolverines and the Crocs. They have the same schedule.
yeah. So the Steelers might end up winning 2 games.
You think they might beat the Crocs at the end of the season for the
I don't think the Crocs should even try to play. They'll try to win that game. Really?
yeah.
I wouldn't.
But again, devil's advocate, if the way it looks, it should finish exactly how it is. Roosters should be third, Steelers should be fourth, Royals should be out, and they should cry about it. And that's fine because it happens. I still have no, I'm not gonna get into that right now. I'm just gonna stick to the playoffs. But sticking to the playoffs, if the Steelers, if they win two, they would be the 3 seed instead of the Roosters, right? Like, say the Roosters
Mhm.
lose to the Crocs and then beat the Wolverines, and then the Steelers win both. Steelers go 3, Roosters go 4. What do you think is more
I think they
cinematically
should try to
great?
do that. I think the Steelers should try to win too because then the Crocs got to play the Roosters in the first round. And I think for the Steelers, they would rather probably play the Butchers than than the Crocs. I'm just being honest.
I would say, like, I agree with you, except for the fact that I think the Crocs, no offense to the Crocs or the Butchers, but none of them want to play the Roosters.
Yeah, no,
Like,
none of
that's
them
what it
do.
is.
Yeah,
And that's what it should be. If I was the Butchers, I would be deathly afraid of playing the Roosters in the semifinals.
in the playoffs, yeah, just in the
I,
playoffs. Period.
if I was the Butchers, I would do what if you need to if someone you need to send a player somewhere else to make sure that the Roosters aren't the 3 seed. Like, whatever needs to be done, make sure that the Roosters don't win because I would be afraid if I was the Butchers. But the Crocs, on the other hand, I don't think they're. I mean, it doesn't really matter who they play. I think if they play the Roosters or they play the Steelers, they're, in my opinion, the better team. But I agree with what I think we've been saying, especially Chris, even though he's not here, been saying on the podcast, is that you don't really want the Roosters in the playoffs this year. You don't want to play them in the playoffs. They have that it factor to them. Even though again, I'm still going to say this over and over, they haven't really beaten quality teams this year. And when they had a chance to beat a quality team, they let them come back. That still doesn't mean you want to tempt fate in the playoffs. This is not a team you want to.
That Kittner rule factor. They got a Kittner factor.
Yeah, I don't. You don't want to accidentally kick it to him or something, or there's not one team in this league. Well, I take that back. There is one team that has a player that can guard him, but that team might not be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But
but not to go too far in this, but even what I like from the Roosters yesterday, I'm gonna say this quick. I like that they finally started going to Santu.
Santu, yes, we gotta talk about it at the game.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it, during that time. But I'm maybe somebody was listening to the podcast. Maybe somebody was throwing the ball to my vote as the best receiver in the league, best finished receiver in the league. In my opinion, he just don't get, like I said, he don't get,
most
displayed like
utilized, underutilized receiver. Man. Gosh, that's good. Yeah, we got to talk about that in the game too, because that's something that I noted as well, is that they finally got him a lot of reps, which looks really good for their team. But I guess that's the playoff picture. I think it's pretty much over for the Royals. They need the Roosters and the Steelers to both. They need one of those two teams to lose to the Wolverines. Honestly, if the Steelers lose to the Wolverines, that gives the Royals a chance to make playoffs.
The Steelers better not, but the way they looked yesterday, oh my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, the team that we saw, honestly, the team you saw
I don't know who was playing yesterday. I don't know who was that yesterday.
They could lose.
Oh my goodness.
But that's the playoffs. We'll get into that later. The players of the week have been announced on our social media channels earlier this week. But of course, let's get into our picks in depth and explain the stats as well as outside the stats. First up, offensive player of the week. He needs no introduction. In Powell, we trust. Christian Powell, running back, Seinäjoki Crocodiles. In this game, he had 32 carries, 202 yards, 4 touchdowns, a 6.3 yard average. When you look at the stats after, he's like, okay, he had 30 carries, 200 yards. Oh, they must have really needed him in this game. I didn't really feel that way in the game. I didn't feel like they were leaning on him heavily, but they couldn't stop him. Look at his average, 6.3 yards average. They were handing him the ball in the rhythm of the offense, and they were noticing that, shoot, if they're not going to slow him down, just keep feeding them. And CP does what CP does best. He keep running. And in this game, he looked like he always does. I feel a little bad saying that, because I feel like we've been saying this for 5 years, 6 years almost with CP. He looked like CP. He don't change. He just go out there and do his thing. It don't matter who you line up. And this week, it was ridiculous how good he was. And then even at the end of the game, they didn't go all Seattle Seahawks on him and throw a pass down there in the red zone. They gave it to CP, and he comes through for you time and time again. And this game I think it's going to be the last competitive game that they play, probably for the rest of the season. Rest of the regular season. The next 2 weeks, they don't play as competitively because the games don't matter to them. But it was good to see him just continue to be a great player. What were your thoughts on him this week?
Nah, CP, man. I know I had text during the game, a few different group chats, and they were like, "Uh-oh, it's getting close." And I was like, "Don't worry, CP will make it happen." And they exactly what happened. And, you seen the back and forth that was going on in the fourth a little bit. And then I knew once, I was like, if the Cards got a chance and they got time, I think they're going to score. And they did. and CP was a big part of that. I mean, like you said, we haven't seen the 60, 70, 80-yard runs of CP like we did before, but it's a little more finesse now.
Mm-hmm.
They give it to him when they need to. I mean, 32 attempts, 200 yards, 4 TDs, averaging almost 6.5 yards. Man, you can't beat that. With him playing the way he's playing, going into closer to the playoffs, it's just CP being CP, man. The Crocs got it together right now, and I don't think it's any situation during the game that they're not prepared for. And you can obviously tell that because they know exactly what to call, they know exactly what to do in those situations. And CP, man, he's just still doing him, still balling, still coming through for his team.
Also, shout out to him playing a little bit of Wildcat quarterback in this game. We should have put him down
Oh,
as a
yeah.
running back / quarterback for this game. But moving on to the next guy for player of the week, defensive player of the week, Raul Khalifa, linebacker from the Wausau Royals. He had 12 and a half tackles, a sack, and an interception. And this young kid, I mean, he's been doing it all year for them. He is, in my opinion, definitely undersized to be a linebacker. Like, he's not like an outside linebacker. If you're looking at him and thinking, oh, he must be playing this. No, he in the box. He's either the Strong or the Mike. I don't know what their system is at all, but it's him and Lamin Latica inside. And for a small guy, like, he's not a big kid yet. He's only like 16, 17 years old. He get in there. He get in the mix.
Active.
And a lot of these tackles, he's I don't know these stats. I haven't looked at it, but a lot of his tackles are solo. Like, he's chasing a lot of times in their defense. He's chasing down players more than he is meeting them in the hole. But in this game, there was a lot of times where he had to make business decisions against Christian Powell. Now, what I like about the way that he plays is in those business decisions, like, Christian Powell is much bigger than him. In those business decisions, he made smart business decisions and went down low, grabbed them ankles, put them together, held on tight, and brought them down. And that's something like similar to what you were saying earlier about Christian Powell is we haven't seen a lot of those like long broken runs. Raul Khalifa is the reason why. Like, normally a linebacker would try to hit that running back up high. Christian Powell would shake him off and then leave everybody. But you'll see a lot of times, and even in this game, there's a lot of times where Christian Powell is like jerking, trying to get away free because somebody holding on to them ankles. At number 56, holding on to them ankles.
Yeah.
And I don't care what your thoughts are about like how you tackle. The job of a tackle is to get the person down. And that's what Raul Khalifa does. He finishes plays.
Yeah. He's my favorite defensive player right now in Finland. Just watching him over the last few weeks, man, but for him to be 16 is ridiculous. Like I don't know if people out there understand how hard it is to be in that box. I know grown men that don't want to be in that box. And you got a 16-year-old who's not just in there, he's actively in there. Came up with a big pick to put him in a position to go back down and score. And the crazy thing is he fumbled the first kickoff.
Yeah, he did.
And then came back and gave that team 100% of him. 100% of him. Played his heart out. They came up short, but it wasn't from his effort. He was everywhere, and that's what you want. I think Seppo, man, you need to be whatever you do, you better keep him in Wasserburg because if any coach right now, hey, I know they probably should not say stuck in Wasser, but that boy is the future of the Maple League, and he's going to be a great player. Like, mark my words, if he stay with it and he keep playing, he's coached the right way. He's going to be a great player because a 16-year-old with almost 13 tackles, an interception. And I think he caused a fumble recovery or something. Like, you can't beat that. You know what I mean?
He got that.
Shout out to Rob.
He got that sack. I think he got in there so fast. I don't even know if he knew that the quarterback was still there. He almost ran by the quarterback when he got the sack.
Yeah. He's just an active player, man. I like him though. He can keep balling, man.
If you're listening to my voice, you're now part of the AFF community. But don't be shy about supporting us. Head over to our website and order some AFF swag. Get a t-shirt for this beautiful summer weather. or a comfy hoodie you can rock all year long. And if you really want the drip, scoop up one of our limited edition snapback caps. Everything you need to represent the AFF community can be found on our website at AmericanFootballInFinland.com/merch.
All right, let's talk about some of the key player performances from the week. And again, for all the haters, we limit it to 2 players per game. And actually, one game, I think I only did 1 player because honestly, it just wasn't enough. And we don't worry about stat padding. We're more concerned about maximum impact, but sometimes the stats do match the performances. So first player got up is Seth Rowland, running back from UNC Crusaders. 25 attempts, 216 yards, 3 touchdowns, 8.6 average, 248 all-purpose yards. They played the Wolverines. The only one that was doing anything in this game was number 4. And there's no disrespect to him, but he did everything they needed him to do. He's always been the key of the offense. You knew he was going to be the key of the offense. The Wolverines still couldn't stop him. And more than talk about how great he is or how great he was, if you watch this game, I don't know when this happened. I hope it's on top plays, but I want you to remember the play where he's running. He gets grabbed by a Wolverine defender. I won't say the defender's name, but I'm 100% sure that the defender and him know who that guy is. But he gets grabbed by a defender. The defender like hugs up on him for almost a full 2 seconds, just holding on top of him. And he eventually just shrugs this dude off, spins out, and takes off. That's Seth Rowland. Seth Rowland is the guy that you can't just grab him and think, oh, the play over. He's going to go down because I'm bigger than him. He's not going to ever give up. He's going to always be able to create something out of nothing, especially with the team that he's playing on. And he did it again this week against a Wolverines team that, honestly, defensively, they should have been able to do much better. But again, you can't do anything if you're going against Seth Rowland. It is what it is. So did you have anything you want to say on him, or you're good?
Well, I'll say this, man. Seth had probably one of the best seasons, I think, of a lot of players in the league. Probably the most consistent player in the league week to week. He showed up pretty much every game.
Yeah.
I don't remember a game where he didn't almost go for 200 total yards. But you can see the burst that he has. It never went away. Unfortunately, just the team didn't put it together all season like they needed. They needed some depth in other spots. But Seth definitely helped that team out a lot. Probably will be the MVP of their team anyway. But he did, he did what we expected Seth to do. I ain't even gonna lie. Like we expect him to go. If he don't go 200, something wrong. So
Right.
yeah, but I agree with everything he said. He just a consistent player, honestly.
All right. Next guy I got on here is Elijah Watson. Sorry about that. Defensive lineman, senior Crocodiles. He had 8.5 tackles, 2 sacks in this game. Defensively, the Crocodiles, it's hard to really like pick out a guy a lot of times because overall their entire defense is really good. Everyone makes plays. But this week, number 2, he stood out a little bit, got in the backfield a lot, was able to create havoc. The 8.5 tackles, honestly, that's more than I thought he had. Because I was watching the game, I was just like, okay, he's getting into it. Watson is everywhere. But to get those 8.5 tackles, that's probably more like 12 tackles because he probably had assisted tackles in there. And I didn't look at the stats when I chose them. But now that I see the stats, it kind of matches what I thought I saw. And what he did in this game was he stood out among some of the best defenders in the league. Like, I honestly, right now, I could pick 6 players from the Crocodiles defense and say that they're top in the league. And to stand out in that group is really impressive, and he did that this week. Next guy I got on here, Alpha Jallo, athlete, Wassa Royals. Because I want y'all to hear his stat line. 3 receptions, 39 yards, 1 tub. 3 rushes, 23 yards, 1 tub. 2 returns, 72 yards, but that's misleading because he had an 87-yard touchdown that was brought back for taunting. So just remember that really was 2 87 yards, 1 tub. And then he had 5 tackles playing defense. So what this guy did in this game was he did everything physically possible to help the Wausau Royals win. He ran the ball. He caught the ball. He did special teams, and he played defense the entire time. And the 5 tackles might not sound like a lot, but he was playing corner. He was following Yane Sarkala around the field. He was traveling with one of the best receivers in the league and being active in every aspect of the game for the Royals. This is the epitome of a great football player. There's nothing bad you can say about what Alpha did in this game. He played his heart out. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to get the team to win, but if you believe in, moral victories, it was a great moral victory. I don't know who believes in that, but you can't take away from the fact that if there's ever anything good that happens in this Wausau team, Alpha Jallo has something to do with it. And even in this week, the fact that they were winning this game, they were in this game, had a lot to do with the fact that he was able to be impactful in all aspects of the game. I think the only thing that Alpha Jallo is missing in his game is maybe being a kicker or a receiver. I haven't seen him throw. But outside of that, he was just a phenomenal athlete this week. And I mean, I feel a little bad they weren't able to get the win, but that's how it go when you play against the best. You had any thoughts on Alpha?
Man, what's crazy is the Royals are never out of the game, and a big part of it is because of him and Timothy and Swarsty. They always got that big hit in them, and I knew Alpha was going to try to do everything possible for them to get this win. Unfortunately, they came up short, but it takes a lot to play offense and defense and to be effective on both. And the taunting penalty, I'm not a fan of that because he didn't look at one of their players and act like he was trying to wait till they come tackle him. He obviously was trying to run some of the clock down. So that was like kind of premature. But I know they said if you do anything before you run in the end zone, that it's a penalty or whatever. But I didn't like that call. But the crazy part was I think he scored in the very next play.
Yeah, he played. He ran an out route.
Receiver.
Yeah, he ran a deep out and got a touchdown.
So the ball don't lie. So, but yeah, Alpha man, he's an amazing player, athlete. He could do it all, really. It's just unfortunately that they came up short, but he definitely had a display of plays that is Alpha like. So
yep. And then next guy I got on here from the Helsinki Roosters, Santtu Vekomäki, who has 6 receptions, 58 yards, 2 touchdowns. I don't know about you, but after watching the game, I feel like somebody cheating his stats somewhere.
yeah,
I feel like he had like 12 catches and 200 yards in this game because everything they needed, they got from Santtu, and it was good to see him kind of like come up big for them. Whenever Dimitri Sinadinos threw him the ball, he made plays. The 2 touchdowns he scored, those are probably top plays for this week as well, because one of them, he just took it off the defender's head. Another one, it's a tight window, which you got to give credit to the quarterback putting it out there as well. But he's a big target, and he makes big plays if you give him an opportunity. And that's what we saw. We saw in this game, he was given a little bit more opportunities, and he played well. And in my opinion, he is a wide receiver. So play him like one. And if they play him like one instead of kind of using him like a trick tight end, this is what you get from him. He's one of the best in the league, like you said earlier. And this week, I think he had a little bit of a coming out party of what you could expect from the playoffs when you go against the Helsinki Roosters. Is more than just, Kittner, is they also have another guy on the other side who can hurt you. So you have to play him honest. What are your thoughts on Santtu?
Yeah, Santtu, like I've been saying all year, man, he need to get the ball thrown to him. As simple as that. You can see what he can do. You can see the confidence, the way he walked, the way he talked. Like he's one of those receivers. Like, give me the ball. Like, what are we waiting on? You know what I'm saying? And it's some receivers are guys that whatever play the coach calls. All right, if I'm open and they throw it to me, then good. I'm gonna go back out there and throw it. But I can see the passion that Santtu has is like what are we doing? Throw me the ball. And you should feel that way if you feel like you're better than most people you playing around. And I think Santu got that mentality. He works hard. He's a big play receiver, and he could do a lot of things for the Roosters in the future too. I think they should at least gave him. I think Santu stats would be crazy if he can get the ball like 10 times. If they could give him the ball like 10
Yeah.
times a game, or try to get him the ball 10 times a game, I think he's just having crazy, crazy. It's no reason why he should go through a season without 10 touchdowns at least. But maybe he'll be featured more coming into this playoff time because he's a big target. Red zone, you got to go to him. If we don't get it, then it's just we don't get it. But you got to go to him. You have to get him involved. Kittner is going to get involved, but Santu has to be involved too. If you can get Santu involved, then that keeps the other safety on Santu's side at bay. He doesn't get to help out on the other side. Where Kittner was on the one-on-one, so he doesn't get to help out over there that much in the middle of the field. But Santu is a threat itself. So shout out to Santu, man. I can't wait to see what else he do, the rest of this year, man. Because I've been hollering his name all year, man. I'm just glad they finally saying, hey, let's get him involved like every game.
I think it just took him a little while to get the quarterback and him on the same page. But last guy I want to talk about, other half of the equation in Helsinki, Danny Kittner, wide receiver, Helsinki Roosters, 8 receptions, 108 yards, 1 touchdown. He is him. I'm not even going to talk a lot about Danny just because you know who he is. He's out here. He's done this every week since he's got here is he puts up numbers and he makes this offense a threat. And that's just really great performance from him again this week. Him and Santu kind of in cohesion this week, but he's always going to be the number one guy. And even against this team, he was number one guy. You knew he was number one guy. Couldn't stop him. He did his thing. A lot of his catches were really immaculate. He had that one where he laid out in between the safety and the defender. I think he was playing from the slot, and he dove and caught that thing. Man, it was a real good play. And then even his touchdown was double coverage. That's what he did really good in this game was you knew Danny was going to get the ball. They put 2 guys on him. They put a defender on him, and then he always had a safety on top, and he still caught the ball. You can't stop Danny Kittner, and just what he did in this game, that's what made him a top performer is you can't stop him. I think someone said it online. I don't know if I'm taking it verbatim, but someone said, NFL, please take this man back. He out here playing with people. He needs to be out there. He's definitely not saying that, he's too good for the Maple League, but, I mean, this guy should be
He's
on
a wild card, man.
Yeah,
He wild card. He's gonna be.
It's getting crazy how dominant he is at that position and how there's no real way to stop him.
Yeah, he's gonna be a problem in the playoffs. A problem for every defense he play against, and he's just a big play guy. You can't get Kidner. Salute this man. If he was here from the beginning of the season, maybe the Roosters' record wouldn't be what it is.
Oh yeah,
it might be in a different position.
Definitely,
but that was a big pickup for them. Big grab for them because he's definitely paid off.
Yeah, I don't know if we could do stats in that way, but he easily is a +2 wins. That adds 2 wins just by having him in the first couple of weeks.
Flag football in Finland. Yes, the annual AFF Turkey Bowl flag football tournament is back for the 4th consecutive year. This year's 5-on-5 flag football tournament will be held on November 11th at Mukula Sports Hall in Lahti. Men's and women's teams are invited to play in a fun and competitive environment, with bragging rights on the line. Registration is open until September 1st, so sign your squad up today. Registration can be completed at AmericanFootballInFinland.com/turkey-bowl.
We all know the results of last weekend's games, and if you don't know it, you can go follow us on Instagram at American Football in Finland, where we put up the weekly scores every Sunday, okay? And that'll tell you who won technically and what the scores was, and as well as their records. But what we're going to do is talk about which teams won or lost in the essence of the game. And the first game, we had the Crusaders versus the Wolverines. It was a normal blowout that we expected, but just for theatrics, who won or who lost the game, Q?
UNC won the game. UNC won the game. Seth, RJ, what we expected him to do against them. One thing I will say, not just to say this because it's my home play, but I feel like if RJ played defense, let's just say he's on the end part of his career playing receiver. Not saying he is, but if he played defense, I think RJ would still have 8 to 10 interceptions per season.
Yeah, like he keep getting interceptions. That was his like fourth interception of the year. He's gonna be like top 3 in the league.
Yeah. And like playing both ways is crazy, man. Like watching them, I'm like, the UNC started off with so much potential, roster wise. It's just the depth was a problem, man. And it against the Wolverines, obviously this is supposed to happen, but if they could have had this type of play, against some of the better teams and finished out some of those games, they'd have been in a better position. But Crusaders definitely won this game. Wolverines been a tough one, but they fight and they play hard too. So it's just one of those games where it's hard to get up for because it doesn't really mean anything for either team. It's just more stats, getting stats right now. But yeah, UNC won out fair square.
Yeah, I agree with you. Best thing about this game was that Seth got 248 overall yards. So that means, he needs 252 yards, I think. Because he had 2,000 yards before this last game. So now he has close to 250. So he needs a little bit over 250 to finish the season with 2,500 yards, all purpose, which is incredible in 12 games.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do my calculator so I can know what that is math wise. So he basically averaging 208 yards a game. So 200 times 12 is 2,400. And to get 2,400, he needs about 150 yards. So if he gets like 200, he's going to average a little bit over 200 yards a game this season. And that's incredible. And that's probably the best thing that happened in this game was he didn't lower his average. He statted up when he's supposed to. That's why I say every time a team plays Wolverines, like this is your stat game, get your stats up. One thing about the Wolverines is this probably was the only game. Well, not the only game, but it's one of the few games where you're going to score more points. You actually had 20 points. And the Wolverines, they had the opportunity in this game to maybe pull an upset. I know it never looked like it watching the game, but if that defense could have, done a little bit better, I feel like their offense played about as good as you can expect because the Crusaders defense is not good. So, putting up 20 against them is, that's possible for the Wolverines of all people. But defensively, they just couldn't handle, in my opinion, Seth Rowland. Like I said, the epitome of this game and even his season is when there was someone on top of him and they just assumed that he would go down. And then he shrugged that person off and then left. Like, that's how it was for the Wolverines this game is there was opportunities and they just weren't able to finish against this team because this team has that kind of talent.
Do you love football? Do you enjoy the AFF podcast? Well, we need your help to keep this party going. If you think you can be an asset to our team, please contact us immediately about joining the AFF squad. Email all inquiries to americanfootballinfinland@gmail.com or send us a DM on Instagram.
Next game up, we got the Royals versus Crocodiles, and it was a good one. It came down to it. In your opinion, though, did the Royals lose this or did the Crocodiles win it? This is going to be a tough one. I think this is tough. I think it can go either way.
Oh, man. This is it could go either way, but I'm not even going to try the Crocs like that. I'm not even going to do the Crocs like that. I think what happened is the Royals knew what they needed to do to have a chance, so they showed up for this game and really took the opportunity to try to beat the Crocs. I think they watched film on the Crocs, and that helped a lot. They put certain people in certain areas that could help them defensively because it wasn't really like a dominating fashion win. The Royals were in there like they were going back and forth for punts. Whitehead couldn't get any major big throws downfield on the regular. He had to run the ball a few times to get some first downs. But I can't say that the Royals lost the game. They were in a position to win it, but they weren't supposed to win. So, in actuality, I think the Crocs just they made it interesting. If you want to say so, they made it interesting. But that's the thing about good teams. It's not always pretty. And when you get in situations where the other team seems like it has momentum or it seems like they're in a position to win, you find a way to take back the lead or you find a way to score and get that win. And that's just good teams. Some people might feel like they got a little chink in their armor a little bit, but I don't. I think they just so happen to be playing against one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best running backs in the league, one of the best athletes in the league. And anytime you got all three of those in the same, the same team, it just goes like that. So
Yeah, that makes sense. I will. I'll be honest with you, and now I'll talk about it. After the last couple of weeks, and the social media backlash from the Royals, I want to say it came out here and lost, but I won't disrespect the Crocodiles like that either. I really think that if you look at this game, and I'm going to talk about what we talked about in the group chat as well, is the last drive for the Crocodiles lasted 4 minutes and 11 seconds. So with 4 minutes left in the game, the Royals are up by 3. At that point, that's one of those situations where it's anybody's game. There's 4 minutes left. One team has the ball. Both teams have the opportunity to win now. It's not a comeback. Like you said, the score was going back and forth in this game. So you can't really just say like, oh, well, the Royals were up and they lost. No, they went up in a game where both teams were going up in this game. It went what? It was 19-7. The Royals came back, if you really want to talk about it. It was 19-7, and then they went up, scored twice, and went up 21-19. That's not them being ahead. That's them coming back. Because when it was 19-7, I was like, oh, it was halftime. I went to sleep. Thought this game was over. I went to sleep. I was like, oh, Crocs going to, open up the door the second half. And they didn't. I woke up the next morning and found out they didn't. And then I watched the second half of the game to see what really happened. I was like, that don't make any sense. How they let them come back? The Crocodiles won this game, but there is a chink in their armor. And I know you said there's some people going to say that. I'm the people that say it. There's a chink in their armor. And I think they know it as well. And last time I was in Porvoo talking to people from the Crocodiles team, coaching staff and players included, they lightheartedly admitted to that chink, but maybe some people that are listening don't know. Look at the third quarter. Crocodiles, first of all, I don't know if maybe it's like confidence, arrogance, cockiness. I'm not sure. And again, I try to keep this show PG-13, but in the third quarter, I have to say the Crocodiles like to fuck around and find out. Okay, that's what they like to do in the third quarter. You tell me you're winning 19-7, and in the third quarter, you come out in the second half and have your star running back playing quarterback the whole drive, and they ain't getting nothing out of it. But he was playing quarterback the whole drive. Like that's how you start the second half. Is in a formation and a set of plays that you don't need to use at this time. Like having that Wildcat is a great tool, but you're up by 2 scores starting the second half. There's no reason to pull that out. There's no
point in doing it.
But they do, and it doesn't get them anywhere. And then their opponents get the ball and score. And then when they do put the quarterback in, I want to say he threw a pick when he came back in, when Zach Whitehead came back in.
Yeah, he threw it to Raw. Yeah, that's when Raw
he threw a pick, which gives the other team momentum. And next thing you know, you're down 21-19 instead of being up 19-7 like you were. And that's the chink for them. Now, the reason I say chink is because they might mess around and find out, but they ain't gonna let you win. They're gonna
Yeah.
at the end of this game, when they got down, next thing you know, they drive down the field. I think they had a 4-minute drive. I'm looking at stats now, guys. I'm just looking at the scores. But in this game, after they got down, they drove the field and scored, put together a drive, which they could do any time in the game. And again, just in the third quarter, they didn't stick to what they did well. I think that's a little bit of like overthinking the situation. You know, you go into it half, and you're like, okay, they're gonna adjust like this, so we're gonna adjust like this. When you don't actually have to adjust sometimes. If you're the winning team at halftime, it's up to the other team to adjust. You don't have to
you're gonna
adjust
keep
to
doing
their
what you're doing.
adjustment. Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna keep doing what you're doing. You shouldn't change like
They
you
have
said,
to
I don't
make
know why
you.
they came out with that.
Yeah.
I don't know what made them come out with that. It was pointless. For one, your running back, your star running back should not be the guy touching the ball first while you're up 2 touchdowns. I don't know why they did that. It was pointless, but they put them back in the game pretty much doing
Yeah.
that. And the chink, if there is a chink, I don't think that they have a major chink like that. But what it is notice how the games that were close for the Crocs were all against mobile quarterbacks too. Winner is mobile. The D line they have is a stout D line. They can rush. They will get sacks, but they have a hard time containing these running quarterbacks. And they could never finish the drives like the they had a few 3 and outs, they had a few sacks on Timothy, but a lot of it was because he was, trying to hop around and get out of situations that he probably should have just went down on. But if anything, I think that's where, if the Crocs can be beaten, I think that's where you do it. You do it on the outside. You do the fly sweep, the stuff that gives them problems. That's what Alpha was having success on. So it's the outside. And but like you say, the Crocs, they still find a way to win the game. But as the season goes on, it's hard for teams that's winning to really get challenged enough to like say, hey, we need to be better in this situation, or we need to be better in that situation. You kind of just float through the motion and go through the motion of like, oh, okay, we're gonna beat them, even though they pretty good, we're still gonna beat them.
To add to your point, I think the only people that are gonna point out what the Crocodiles aren't doing good is us. Like, we're probably the only people that are gonna be able to say, this is where you're actually not that great at. I've said it a few times here on the podcast before. The Crocodiles are the best team in the league. And this game was more evidence of it, that they are the best team, but they are beatable. And when I say that, I don't mean it to the point that I think anybody in the Maple League can beat them. But I think that they've proven multiple times this season. Let's go through a couple of teams. The Royals, who they just played, the Butchers, who they played earlier, UNC, I think both times. You have games where they get ahead. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm going to point to that third quarter in all these games where they let this team come back, and then in the fourth quarter, they finish the game. And that's what really makes them the best team in the league. Is I don't care what the score is in the fourth quarter, if they have a chance to win, like it was with 4 minutes left in this game, they're only down by 3, which means they're not even really playing to get a touchdown. Everybody believes in Etu Makimonis. Is that how you say his last name? I'm not sure. But number 7, as we call him in the group chat, everybody knew that once they started that drive, I think they started on their 30-yard line or something, that they have to get close enough to make a field goal. And if they have enough time, they're going to try to put it in the end zone. Fortunately, Royals defense gave them everything and let them drive the field 4 minutes and 11 seconds for the game-winning touchdown, courtesy of CP, who has 8,000 touchdowns this season. So it's just one of those things that there's one thing that separates them from everyone, is that they know how to finish. So no matter what we say about there's a chink, or even me saying that they are beatable, which they are, I'm just saying it. If someone could do third quarter twice, they could lose a game. But
This look, I'm gonna give him some game. I'm gonna give him some game. Not to cut you
yeah,
off, I'm gonna give him some game.
go ahead.
All you have to do, if you want to beat the Crocs, all you have to do is go through all of their. I don't know who has the time to do it, but it's something that I would do. I would go and see on defense where do they give up the most of their touchdowns and their big plays in the passing game. If I'm the Butchers or the Roosters, I'm going to look and see on their secondary who can we go at. Who can we get one on ones with that has been giving up stuff all year? And the Crocs can't play It can't double team Kittner all game. They can't double team Miko Sepinen all game. So what you do is you look at that and see where they gave up the most touchdowns. Now, I can kind of guess who probably gave up the most touchdowns, number wise. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
put them out there like that, but all you
yeah.
gotta do is watch the film, and you know where the chink is. You know where it is. So, unfortunately, in the playoffs now, there's only really one running team,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the Crocs.
Yeah.
And that's the
Yeah.
Crocs. So this tells you right now, if the Crocs don't come out dominating the run game, they're going to be in trouble in the playoffs. And the reason I say that is because now everything that happened during the season doesn't matter now. Kittner is here in your face now. Miko Sepinen, Natanen, Mickey J, they're all in your face now. And you have to stop them this game. They don't have to worry about what you did during the season. So now it's a ball game. So you look at that and you say, hey, where can we go where Eric isn't helping over the top? He can't run the whole field. So then you start finding in the Roosters, they're scoring off of seams, fades, goal routes. This is what they're scoring off of. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. So you go at the DBs. That's what you're supposed to do.
Only
Like,
problem I got
and
with that, I think you're 100% right. Like their passing defense won't necessarily match up all the time, but the issue with that is the difference between them and a lot of the teams they play is most teams can't get the passing going. Like
yeah, the
the
D
thing
line.
is,
Yeah,
they'll hold the ball. Like I'm looking at their in this last game, all their scoring drives when the Crocodiles are on offense, they're driving down the field, taking up 4 or 5 minutes of clock, which in real time is like 10 to
mm-hmm,
15 minutes, which means your offense gets cold. The offense comes out
mm-hmm,
there and they're not able to put together a drive because all they need is, Seth Zins, Philip Zakic, Elijah Watson, one play to back you up. Once they
yeah,
back you up, they know what you're gonna do.
yeah,
And once they know what you're gonna do, you're in a shit situation. You got to figure something else out. And most teams just don't have the patience to stick with it. And that's
yeah.
what they really do very well is they force you to play into what they
Their
want you to
game.
do. And
Mm-hmm,
that's what makes it tough to play against this team is because defensively they like you said they have chinks. Their defense, as great as the D line is, the linebackers, even most of the secondary, they have just enough chinks everywhere that teams have had success both running and passing. Like if you look at again, this isn't what I do for 11, but I know there's coaches out there who are looking at the actual games and saying, "Hey, you can run against this team," or "Hey, you can pass against this team." You can. The problem that everyone is having is can you do it consistently enough like they do it on the
consistent.
other side? Because what
Yeah,
happens is if you don't score, they gonna mess around and score because they know
yeah,
what to do on offense. And I don't think there's a defense in the Maple League that can stop their offense.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
that
They got to make it
complementary
count.
ball.
You got to make it count when you playing
Yeah.
against them. You got to make all your drives count, or at least 50% of your drives got to count because they're going to take up so much time with
Mm-hmm.
their offense. But it's simple. I mean, it really is. Football is really is simple. Sometimes it's find a mismatch, find your mismatch, and exploit it. You got to, and like you say, the thing that teams don't like to do is stick with it. They don't like if it's not happening the first two drives, third drive, and they go away from it. Like you actually have to stick with it. If the games end up being 9-7, 10-7, it is what it is.
or if
You
or
just
if your
gotta
running
stick
back
with it.
ends up with 32 carries.
Yeah.
Like that's
That's
what the
what
Crocodiles
it
do
is.
well, is they'll stick with what works if they really want to. I mean, again, that third quarter, I don't know what they be thinking. But by the end of the game, they do what they need to do. Like even in that last drive, it was a heavy dose of Christian Powell sprinkled in with everyone else, doing their part. Zach Whitehead showed up big in this game. His legs were a very active part of why they were successful. They ran that read option, and he had a lot of yards against the Royals, running that ball. And that's something that's kind of not talked about a lot when you talk about Zach Whitehead, is him as a running quarterback. But he can get down with the get down. Don't get it
Yeah, he can
twisted.
run.
Like if they
He does enough. I
if
think
they
he
need
does
him
enough
to.
to get the job done. Like,
Last thing I want to say about this game before we move on is I want to throw a shout out to Timothy Moravec, quarterback from the Royals, because I think he had close to like 100-some yards rushing in this game, and he looked real good. And there was this one play where he should have scored a touchdown, but I want to say either number 44 or number 14, I can't remember, dove and got him tripped up at the last
tripping.
second.
Yeah.
Tim, unhitch the trailer, man.
Yeah, throw them
Unhitch
knees
the
up. Get
trailer.
them knees up, man.
If you watch Timothy Moravec, that dude can run, but he don't be running. Like he's running like real like smooth, casual, ready to cut or something, but he won't just like open up. And that's what kept him from scoring that touchdown. That's happened like 3 or 4 times this season. So I just want to say to Tim, unhitch the trailer, man. When you start running, just run. Open up, sprint. Because he's a little bit faster than what he shows, but he doesn't ever really run full speed because he's always looking for like a lane or a cutback or something. And on that play, he literally was running through the defense. Like he was faster than they are, but you could tell like he's running like 80, 85. Go hit 90, 95%, man. He could have scored a touchdown. Be great. But he saves a little bit because he's the quarterback and offensive coordinator. So, next play he has to be thinking. And I know once you use all that speed, you probably can't think anything but hand it off to somebody else. But my last thing I just want to say is Timothy Moravec, unhitch that trailer. Let us see them wheels, man. Let us see them wheels.
Represent the community and buy us a coffee. AFF is run by volunteers who love the sport and want to give you the best coverage of it as possible. In true Finnish fashion, we love coffee and would appreciate any donation to help us buy a cup or two. You can donate online at buymeacoffee.com/AFF23.
Last game of the week, Scorpio Steelers, Helsinki Roosters. It went down the way it went down. In this one, who do you think won or lost this game?
Ooh-wee.
It was close
Steelers.
at half.
It was close at half. It was just something not right about this game, though.
Yeah, I agree.
It was just something not right about this game with Scorpio. I'll start off on the Scorpio side. They lost. Scorpio lost this game, and the Roosters won it.
Facts, big facts.
Because I'll say that the alarming thing was the penalties.
There were so many penalties.
It was a ridiculous amount of penalties. I know that they called over 30 penalties in this game, which is crazy, which is wild. So I don't know if it was referees or it was just that chippy out there.
It did look chippy, though. I give you that.
Hurt. It was chippy and it was hurt. It's like once you start getting into all of that, you're kind of killing the momentum from each team. And 30 penalties in the game is like ridiculous. Scorpio looked horrible.
Just to throw it out there, there were 31 penalties, 16 for the Roosters, 15 for the Steelers. 125 yards of penalties for the Roosters, 139 yards of penalties for the Steelers.
Yeah, this is ridiculous. Any game you go in, you got over 10 penalties. I'm running if I'm the coach, I'm running everybody after the game. We're running after the game if we got that many penalties because it's just you're giving the other team so many chances. And Scorpio they definitely don't have an identity now. If they didn't have one when Lee Athena got hurt, they definitely don't have one now. When I look at their team, I'm like, who is this? I don't even know what we would watch. Ambrose looks so out of it. I don't know if he's injured, what it is. He looks out of it. Some of the throws that are supposed to be easy throws for him were going in the dirt. He was off, couldn't hit. The one receiver that they do have, I think, he could barely connect with him. Running game, non-existent. We're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna throw this out there first.
Okay.
Scorpio, 4 first downs in the first half. That is ridiculous for a championship team. 4 first downs.
They only finished with
12.
12.
Now the next thing, a negative 16 rushing yards in the first half is ridiculous. So I'm not gonna blame the players. I'm gonna blame the organization today because you had plenty of time to sign people, to make moves, to give your guys a chance to still win this season. And the signing that you did do didn't make any sense to me because this can't be the display that y'all wanted to put out in front of everybody. I don't think that the board, I don't think that the coaches came together and said, yes, this is the best we can put together right now. Now, you're coming into a game where you know you got to win. You have to beat the Roosters. It's a must win for you guys. And this is the team that y'all came out with. They look it down. Like, if you look on the sideline.
This is your king.
When Ambrose, like if you just go, I'm just saying this. Go look at the film and look on the sideline when they're third down and Ambrose throws the ball. I don't know where whatever he does. Watch how his teammates look. That tells you everything right there. The confidence, they do not have confidence in him right now. It doesn't matter what Leroy and that defense does. It's not going to matter because offensively, they can't do anything. They can't do anything. If they score on offense, it's at this point, it's from luck. If you ask me, it's luck. It's like hoping somebody open.
Yeah, I don't like to throw out stats, but like I went to go look at the stats about the penalties, so now I can see the stats. I gotta say this: total offensive yards, the Steelers. Guess over under 200.
Under.
Over under 150.
I'll say over 150, maybe.
They had 116 total offensive yards. When you were talking about the first downs, you said they had 4.5. I was looking at the total. I was like, well, they had 12 total. They had 3 rushing first downs, 4 passing first downs, and 5 penalty first downs. So they had more penalty first downs than they had actually. I guess they technically made 7, but 5 came from penalties.
Yeah.
So, that's a 5 out of 12.
So they had some help.
Almost half of their first downs came from penalties. Like, they didn't do anything on offense. I want to give a shout out. Shout out to the Scorpio Steelers defense. Y'all are the real MVP. Because if I was on a team that didn't give me no help on the other side of the ball, you're in the Maple League. And you held that other team. And we think highly of the Roosters offense. Like, it's just they're a good offense. You technically held them to 300 total yards, 21 points. That's a win. As a defense, you go from this game saying we did everything we could do. Only thing we could have done better is to take the ball and score points because our offense couldn't. It's the only thing their defense could have done. And their defense played really good. As I was watching this game, one thing I was thinking is like the Steelers defense, they're good. I don't think they're great. I think, both of their cornerbacks are higher level cornerbacks than we see, but the offensive players they're going against are a little bit better.
Yeah.
You can beat.
And they look like Scorpio's defense doesn't look bad. So
it's a good defense.
It's not this. Yeah, it's a good defense. It's just when your offense is constantly having you on the field.
Yeah.
It's It's not disturbing, but it's frustrating because it's like, gosh, like we're giving you the 3 and outs, we holding them. Like, come on now, give us some. But then they come out there and it's like not one complete drive really. Ambrose just.
I'm gonna throw out more stats for this defense. Okay, the Roosters 3 for 6 in the red zone. So you're telling me the Roosters get to the red zone? Matter of fact, when now I'm remembering the exact play when number 6 UC fumbled on the goal line. I know it was late in the game, but that defense was fighting. I think it was only Karki that knocked it out. That defense was fighting. You're telling me the Roosters got inside the goal line 6 times, only came out with 21 points. So, I mean, the defense, a lot of those times, the defense probably wasn't even the reason they got to the red zone. But you got them at 50%, and your offense couldn't do nothing for you. Nothing for you. If I was a defensive anything for the Steelers right now, I would feel some type of way about the players on offense as well as what this team is trying to do. Because I don't get the point. What's the point of playing in Maple League if you ain't putting up 40? Like, that's the whole thing. Everybody putting up 40. You hold the team to 21, you getting a dub. You should be getting a dub. And they're not even close to winning. In this game, if you look at it, again, they were the Roosters were in the red zone 6 times. They should have scored 4 or 5 times. The Steelers were only in the red zone, I want to say, once, and they scored a touchdown at one time. Ultimately, this game should have been 35-7, and they were able to curtail that to 21. Your offense got to do better. That's just the only bad part about this game was that offense got to do better. And even worse so, it looks like the Steelers are probably going to make the playoffs. And whoever playing them is licking their lips right now. Like, oh, we get the Steelers. We ain't got to worry about nothing.
Yeah, I would want to play them. I definitely would want to play them if I was. I don't care who it is. If they say we got Scorpio right now, I'm ready. I'm ready because offensively they have nothing to offer us at all.
And now I'm just gonna keep piling on. I feel like that's the mood I'm in because I picked the Steelers to win championship, and they ain't looking like championship team. But just to pile on, Hannes Harju, my guy. I don't know if he knows Johannes Johainen. I don't know if they like talk or anything, but I think Johannes could tell you what it's like going from Kuopio and then playing for the Roosters because that's what you're reminding me of out there. Hannes Harju is getting open. Nobody can get the ball to him. Now he dropped one pass in this game, and
he got one. Yeah,
you dropped some, but even the one that he caught where he had to like almost fall backwards because it was short and looked like he should have got intercepted. That's as close as he getting to good balls. Like quarterback can't get this man the ball, and he getting wide open. They brought in another American. I don't care who they bring in. That guy ain't the guy. Hannes is the guy. That's the guy you got to get the ball to. And in this game, you saw Ambro targeted Hannes a lot. Rarely was the ball ever on point. Just you can't get it to your best receiver. You can't create offense. And they abandoned the run game. Like they gave up on that really early, which I think is crazy because I still think that they were able to run. They got, flustered, I think. Every time the run didn't stop, they said, okay, screw it. We're just going to pass. And then you got yourself in a hole because your quarterback can't throw it to anybody. And you can't actually stop their pass rush, which is what the Roosters wanted to do. They wanted to pass rush. They would prefer to pass rush than to actually stop the run game. I think that's what everybody in the Maple League wants to do. So that's the last thing I say. I'm getting upset just thinking about how bad they played in this game. Kudos to the Roosters. Y'all played great. I do think the Roosters played really good in this game. I think offensively they left some points on the board, but again, they did enough to win the game. And they knew they were going to win the game. I feel like they were in control the whole time. I never felt like, oh, man, the Steelers might come back. Never had that feeling in this game.
At all.
At
all.
So that's that game.
I could go all day on them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm just disappointed because I can't believe that they that's what they came out with. I just cannot believe. I feel like I think when you lose a player, a star player or 2 star players, if you want to count McDonald's the other one,
yeah,
I think when you have to replace them with the same caliber of people, otherwise your team identity really gets exposed in, and I think Scorpios did. I think now we're starting to see that they really, really relied on Reason over more than what I thought. And he was a big part of why Ambro had success throwing the ball because these safeties were coming down in the box. And he had the one-on-ones deep. He had the matches that he wanted. But now It's not that. We'd have no reason as a safety. You have no reason to come down to the box at all. It's not one threat to come down to the box. So now they just sit back and read, and he doesn't really read defenses like that. So yeah, it's just tough one for Corpio, man. I hope they figure something out because if they go into the playoffs with this, it's going to be a quick visit and go home.
Exit stage left. Just show up, takes
Yeah.
photos, and then you out of here.
They out of there. Appreciate you coming.
That's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Hope it was worth the listen. Any last words before we get out of here, Q?
No, okay, we're getting into the gritty of it, man. Some teams are out, some teams still fighting for certain spots. So, good luck to everybody that's still fighting.
Oh, man, I almost forgot. Shout out to Turku Trojans women's Maple League champions.
Oh yeah, balling.
It was an epic game. And oh man, I'm gonna have to take over last words to explain how good this game was, Q. I don't know if you heard about what happened, but anyone who didn't go to this game in Vanta or didn't watch it on Ruutu, you missed it. And if you have Ruutu, go back and watch this game on Ruutu. The Helsinki Wolverines women and the Turku Trojans women, they was out there playing football. I showed up a little bit late to the game, and it was 0-0 in the second quarter. I'm like, this is crazy. They must be horrible out here. But I started watching the game. When I say bodies was flying, it looked like an early 2000s NFL type game. Like there was hits and not like, oh, I'm going to kill somebody hits, just solid contact points, players meeting in the hole, players meeting other players on the sideline. Like if you try to slow down before sideline, they sideline popping over there. So everybody's head's on a swivel. Not crackback blocks per se, but some very good blocks that looked okay. I wouldn't want to be on that field taking contact. Very physical game. And both teams were really adjusting. And it was a much higher level game than what I expected to see from the women's side, especially with so few teams this year. And at the end of the game, it's fourth quarter. Fourth quarter, still 0-0. The Wolverines go down and score with 53 seconds left in the game. And they had a couple good plays. A really good pass play that got them down there, and they scored with 53 seconds left in the game. I'm like, dang, that's so crazy that the defense finally gave up some points, but it wasn't over. The Trojans drive the field, and with 2 seconds left, throw a corner route, I want to say. Is it a route? No, they threw a fade. They threw a fade to number 86. I don't want to get her name wrong, but I want to say Tia Jansen, number 86, big, tall receiver. They throw a fade. She catches it. They score. The crowd goes crazy. Oh, my God. They go for 2. No hesitation. They go for 2. Receiver runs a corner route on the 2-point conversion. They score. They win the game 8-7. Walk off. If you are a Helsinki Wolverines fan, your heart dropped watching this game. Your heart dropped because that team played so good, so well for 4 quarters and for 3 quarters and almost 4 quarters, minus those last 53 seconds where the other team was able to go down the field. And if you're a Turku Trojans fan, they just won their 3rd championship in a row. And they did what they thought they could do is no matter what, if there's any chance to win, they're going to win. They're kind of reminiscent of the Seinäjoki Crocodiles in that aspect. But I know it's last words. I just wanted to throw it out there that it was a great game to watch and see and be a part of. And if you haven't yet, check it out on Ruutu. Watch the highlights or something. I think we're going to put the highlights up on Instagram from that game later. But it was a great game. Congratulations to the Trojans ladies with the win. And enjoy the spoils of winning and becoming Maple League champions. That's all I got. If you enjoyed the show, please follow us. And wherever you listen to your podcast, including YouTube. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars. Anything less tells us you're a hater. You can follow us on the gram and Facebook at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
TIF.
we
We go. Yes, sir.
American football in Finland.
Attention business owners and entrepreneurs. Are you ready to connect with passionate American football enthusiasts in Finland? Look no further than the American Football in Finland podcast. With over 1,000 dedicated subscribers and an impressive 20,000 downloads, your message can reach a captive audience eager for your products or services. Take advantage of over 10,000 monthly social media impressions to boost your brand's visibility. Imagine the impact of your message resonating with this engaged community. Don't miss this incredible opportunity to increase brand awareness, drive traffic, and grow your business. Contact us today to secure your exclusive ad spot on the American Football in Finland podcast. Get ready to score big with your target audience.